Pleasant good afternoon. John Walk, Dan Morgan, Lone Star Christian Sports Network. We're here at Tappscon24 here in Waco, and we're joined now by state championship football coach Jason Lovvorn. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to be down here.
Yeah, I last saw you at the state basketball tournament. A little bit tough defeat for the Lady Saints, but Matt's still standing upright. So,
he is.
He is. Heartbroken, but and especially his daughter. But
yeah.
But you guys have just, you have a great overall athletic program.
Yeah, we had a great season and year overall. So football won the state championship. Volleyball lost in the state championship.
Mm-hmm.
Both basketball teams made it to the Final Four. The boys made it to the state championship, and then our boys track team won the state championship. Girls were runner-up, and then both baseball and softball made it to the playoffs and did really well. We're district champions. So it was a good year overall for the Saints.
I'm guessing then that, and I didn't have it pulled up here, I'm guessing, did you guys win Henderson Cup?
We've got the most points in 2A athletically, and we've talked as a school and said, all right, we're going for it for the academics and the fine arts next year.
Okay.
We're gonna push for it.
Now, I've not been on campus before, and I need to get up there. And I've not been at the church, so I need to do both. But my hard question is, knowing the ministry of Pastor Jeffers,
Yeah.
and how large and vast it is, how do you not mirror that growth? Is it just you have constraints from a facility standpoint, or
Yeah, that's
a tough question.
Great question. So the school was a ministry of First Baptist Dallas and a vision of W.A. Criswell, and started in 1972. And for over 40 years, the school was in downtown Dallas, right there with the church. And from about 2005 on, enrollment started shrinking, and for various reasons, but really since 9/11, 2001, that was a big part of people not wanting to take their kids to downtown Dallas to a school on top of a parking garage. And then in DFW, private schools popping up all over the place. So we were one of the largest schools, and that enrollment just dwindled down. And then in 2017, we moved the school out of downtown Dallas to where our athletic complex was in East Dallas on the border of Dallas and Mesquite. And at the time, we had under 200 students, pre-K through 12th grade, when we moved out there. And now we've doubled in enrollment, so we're at about 400 students. Still, we're 2A, Division IV in football, 99 kids in the high school, but are growing in a healthy way from the elementary level on up. So I expect to see that growth.
Is it fair, and again, not having been there, not doing a deep dive. I've listened to Pastor Jeffers on the radio, and podcasts and things like that. So I'm familiar. But is that church population an older population in that they wouldn't? You have more of the older people of faith than the younger, so therefore you don't have as many to pull from to feed your school.
Yeah, I think for a while that was the case. Now they've got a thriving, growing children's ministry and do a great job down there. So I think we saw for a while the school's enrollment struggling and just uncertainty about the future of the school. And even those church families that wanted the Christian education just weren't certain about the direction of First Baptist Academy. So as people have started to see, no, we're not going anywhere, we're actually growing and things are going well, and they want that Christ-centered environment and that as the focus of their children's education, we've started to see more and more as that church growth has occurred, more and more simultaneous growth with the school.
That's great.
Yep.
You're probably, and I've not done, Lord knows I've got my hands in researching all kinds of things, but I got to imagine you're one of the few, if not the only, athletic director, head football coach, or a major sport coach, and head of school. Now, how did that come about? Talk about your, because you're a grad, went to Baylor, and
then came back.
So talk about how that progression.
I, for the past 3 or 4 years, well, now it's 4 years, I think, I'm no longer the athletic director, thankfully.
Okay,
Coach Jones came over, was an associate athletic director for a year, and then
I hope he doesn't
said,
watch this video too closely. Then.
No,
I'm
no.
teasing.
I gladly said, "You got this. Take our athletic program to new heights," and he has, for sure. So I started off as a teacher coach, was head football coach, and then athletic director and dean of students. So I've always kind of juggled multiple responsibilities. But in talking about our enrollment and the dwindling enrollment and the school struggling, our head of school was leaving, going to another school, and I thought, man, we're doing well. We had just won a state championship in 2013. Sports are going well, but I knew the finances of the school and enrollment, we were really struggling, and knew that we've got to do something. And we can't just stay downtown and let the school that I went to, that I love, let the school just struggle and die. So I sent a proposal to our school board and said, hey, I really think when you're looking for a new head of school, hopefully it's someone that's done a campaign, and I really think the best direction for the school is we need to raise some money, move the school out of downtown to our athletic complex, and either we sit here and do nothing. That's a risk to move, but we can sit here, do nothing, and let the school die, or take a risk and move the whole school out there. So I went and did a presentation at a school board meeting, and then afterwards had some people on the board say, we like that idea. Why don't you interview to be the head of school? So it wasn't a career goal, wasn't what I felt like long term I wanted to do, but then realized, you know what, I feel like God has me here in this position for this reason. And I was ready to be used by him, and so that's what really got me in that role, and I've been in that role ever since as head of school and football.
No, I mean it's so very unique. I mean it's just just following over the years. I just can't think of it. I can't recall anybody off the top of my head that just had that combination.
Yeah, it's fun. There are some challenges at times because I'm always needing to be conscious as the head football coach, and especially a season like this where you go undefeated, win a state championship, not wanting to give the football program too much focus and interest and everybody talking about it, because I don't want to be a head of school where people say, yeah, well, they're so focused on football, but at the same time, not wanting to limit the exposure that our kids have earned and our kids have deserved. So I always have to really balance that out of making sure that I'm doing my role as head of school and staying focused on that role and what's important there, but also doing everything I can as a head football coach to build that program.
You had engaged me at the state basketball tournament. We had a good chuckle out of it. And, after you guys won, I'm sitting in the press box, and if I wouldn't have seen you, I'd show you what the spreadsheet looks like. But you were giving me some fun grief about, stat about, 10 years apart from winning your first one. Yeah. Talk about how hard it has been, to have that success early on when, just as you shared, the school was in a downturn and you win the first time. But then to not taste that level of victory or success for 10 long years.
Yeah. Well, what I've told people is that was awesome to win a state championship. I think I was 28 and 5 years in as a head coach, and we had really felt like we had built things to where we'd have sustained success, which even though we haven't won a state championship, we have been successful and been to the semifinals several times, but just never gotten over that. But I think this year, I guess I've got some gray hairs coming in, I've learned to appreciate that journey and this season a lot more and just enjoy it, where I think all of us as coaches look and say, you know what, we've got to turn the page, get to the next game, and we can't enjoy that victory too much because we've got something next week, which is true. But at the same time, I think this year I just enjoyed the ride and realized and told our guys to enjoy that and recognize how special the group we had was and that opportunity to be the favorite and to possibly win a championship. So both of them were fun. There's nothing like, okay, we won the state championship for the first time in school history in 2013, but I think that 10 years without winning made me appreciate it this second time around even more than I did the first time.
Sure. Who are your mentors?
That's a great question, and that's something that's hard when you get thrust into a leadership role as a head coach at 23 and even head of school at 28. One thing that I've been blessed with is I've got a dad that I can talk to and call. And I remember friends in college would joke around like, man, you've got like 45-minute conversations with him about what class you're taking, your majors. But we just have that kind of relationship of a man that has been successful.
Right.
He wasn't a coach, but has been successful and a Christian role model for me. And then my older brother also, who is not in education and not in coaching, but he's actually the executive pastor at First Baptist Dallas. So he's been a great resource. He just got his doctorate, and I'm working on my doctorate.
Oh, wow.
So he's been a good person to talk to, not necessarily about coaching, but more about how do you juggle so many responsibilities and be productive and be a family man and those kind of things. So I look at those two, which is really cool to be able to say my dad and my older brother are two of my biggest mentors in life.
Well, one time a year I get emotional. And I would hope that if you pulled my daughter aside that she would say the same about me. You know, that's great. No, that's super.
Yeah.
Because I have those same type of conversations with my daughter. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm 30 minutes. You know, I need to get up at 3:30 this morning to leave spring by 4:30, and you know, she's calling at 10:40. Not a problem. Just, hey, I want to share this with you.
Yeah.
You know, we talk for 35 minutes and love every minute of it.
Yeah. And that's one thing. I'll pull out my phone. I've got this picture here as a reminder for me. It's kind of sad, but it's your kid's age and then the number of days you've got left with them in the house from age 0 to 18. But which is a good reminder of me. For me, as a head of school football coach with a lot of responsibilities, to recognize, you know what, that time is ticking that you've got with the kids in the house. But at the same time, being a 38-year-old man who still reaches out and has conversations with my dad and brother, knowing just those are formative years when they're with you in the house. But hopefully I've got that same relationship with my kids to be able to have that connection, I mean, for the next 30, 40 years of our lives.
Dan, did you have anything? This is like one of those ones saying, "It's all yours." No, we have a great time, and man, I really appreciate you.
I appreciate all you guys do. I love what y'all do for private schools, and
like I said, we just try. You know, I mean, it's all. I mean,
you know, we try to stay impartial. We try not to be in the middle, but we were really rooting for you guys. That was like, it was kind of funny. It was like, you know.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun. And one of the most fun parts about this season and the team that we had is so many of them were freshmen on the team the year before that lost to Central Texas Christian in the first round of the playoffs and got run over by Fort Worth Temple when they were ninth graders. And we just kept telling them, hey, y'all believe, you keep working hard. So for them to see that, and they were dominant middle schoolers, but then they got a rude awakening going into high school as freshmen, and so many of them having to start. So it was a lot of fun to see that and see those guys develop, believe, and grow, and then win the state championship.
Well, fantastic. Again, we've been visiting with Dallas First Baptist Academy head of school and head football coach. Dropped the AD title.
That's right.
So we get through the interview and drop the title. So we fired
right.
you. No.
Thank you, Coach Jones. Yep.
No, so Jason Lovvorn, thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate you taking time. It's, again, in your roles, you're busy. So even though you're away at a conference, again, appreciate your time.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.